I don't do the clap once, clap two things. Sorry, that was way after me. Okay, thanks. All right, hey, let me introduce our guest speaker, who is not only a good friend, but was my player just a couple years ago. How many?
Well, let's see. 2000 to 2003. So, yeah.
So, went to Wheaton College, played for the Eagles for 5, 6, 7 years. I can't keep it straight. Great player, great athlete, and on top of that, a better man of God, has a wonderful family. 2 boys back there. Raise your hands, guys. Yeah. His 2 sons and
2 more.
And 2 more. So once he came to Charlotte.
They didn't get invited.
They didn't get invited. I didn't invite any.
All right.
So when he came to Charlotte and played, he fell in love with, and he and his wife fell in love with the area, stayed here, and now he runs a business that he's a very successful businessman, and it's called?
Always About People.
Always About People. And he doesn't have his book over there because he's not done with it yet. But hopefully we'll get that out to you guys down the road. But Chris.
Watch out, don't step on the
sorry.
On the back.
It's all yours, buddy.
All right.
Thank you.
Listen, I know that I am the person who separates you from a Charlotte FC game. So I'm on a hard stop at 5 p.m. and I promise you I can do it. Are you ready? Okay. So here's what I want to do in our time together. I might skip a few things, we'll skip around, but I'm going to leave time for interaction. This is not a monologue, this is a dialogue, and I'd love for us to have a conversation. The topic that they wanted me to cover is team building. Here's why. I run an organization called Always About People, because when I was playing soccer, obviously at some point in time your knees give out, and I was like, okay, what can I do with what I've learned from this sport? My dad was a pastor, my uncle was a successful business person, and I'm kind of a cross in between. I saw churches with significant leadership problems and organizations with really poor people leadership. And so for me, Always About People is an opportunity to go into organizations and help people who've never played team sports understand what it's like to, one, coach people, because every manager is a coach, and then how teams can help establish one another for effective results. So when I was prepping to come, what I was thinking is I want you guys to understand that your roles as coaches is setting up the next generation to understand how to enter the workforce with a manager and a team. And that's honestly why I make money. I make money and have job security because too many people enter the workforce not knowing how to coach people or how to be a part of a team. And every business that I come in and work for, they would hire an athlete of a team sport every day before somebody who's never played a team sport. So in addition to all the spiritual stuff, in addition to all the coaching stuff, I just want to tell you that you're prepping the next generation for the workplace, which is where most of them will end up. And so you have a unique opportunity. But what I wanted to show you was just some recent data from Gallup. It came out about a month ago. And what they did is they asked 72,000 people around the globe, who is the most influential person in your life? And then they said, what are the 3 things that this most influential person in your life does for you? And there were 4 main answers. The first, hope. The second, trust. The third, compassion. And the fourth, stability. In other words, the most influential person in my life gives me hope, trust, compassion, stability. But if you look at the sort of the distribution, 56% is hope, 33% trust. Guys, your role as influencer in the lives of everyone you coach is actually about giving them hope and establishing trust. If you're doing those 2 things, you're actually meeting the needs of people. This has nothing to do with spiritual. These are 72,000 people distributed around the globe. The other thing I wanted you to see is that your role as manager, technically that's the manager of an organization, but you fulfill that role. You are the second most influential person in people's lives. Most of you probably knew that, but there's data to back it up outside of the family. So what are you going to do with this influence? Let me just quickly fly through this. Don't write anything down. I'll provide all this later. It'll take too much time. This right here are the beliefs of your organization or your team, your mission, vision, and your values. But the behavior is the strategy that you create and the culture that you create. I know that you've had talks about culture already, and I know that you've spent on the field time talking about strategy. The problem in most organizations / teams is the disconnect between what we believe and how we behave. And the disconnect is leadership and it's clarity. So your role as managers and coaches is to provide the clarity that can bridge the gap between what we believe and how we behave. And instead of talking about how culture eats strategy for breakfast, let me just give you a new idea. Strategy to the power of culture equals outcomes. Here's what that means. You have to have a strategy, and people need to know what it is. Here's where we're going. Here's how we're going to get there. Here's how we're going to play on the field. It has to be clear. If the players don't know, you're going to have real problems on the field. Then, to the extent at which your culture is clear, it is an exponential impact on that strategy. So you have a culture that's clear. In addition to a strategy, you will have incredible performance on the field, and you'll have individuals thriving. All right, I'll provide all this to you later with some notes, but I'm going to fly through this. I now want to just talk briefly about culture, but I want to show it to you in a video that's 3 minutes long. You are allowed to laugh, and then we'll dissect it.
Stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this, or would you? After just 3 beats, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away? Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone, and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Have a seat and they'll be out just a couple minutes. Thanks so much.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room. Here to explain what's going on in their brains is Jonah Berger of the University of Pennsylvania.
This sort of internalized form of permeating is part of what we call social learning. Starting at a very early age, when we see members of our group perform a task, our brains literally reward us for following their footsteps.
When I saw everybody stand up, I felt like I needed to join them. Otherwise, I'm like excluded. Once I decided to go with it, then I felt much more comfortable.
conformity is how we become socialized, but it can also cause us to develop bad habits or repeat past wrongs.
And it's why even this rebel, who wasn't standing for any of this nonsense, eventually joined the ranks. And the only thing more shocking than seeing how easily conformity affects the way you act is that similar forces are subconsciously shaping the way you think right now.
Culture. The patterns of behavior encouraged or tolerated by people and or processes over time. So, why were you laughing at that video? How many of you would say, and be honest, there is no way I would ever do that? Raise your hand. Okay, perfect. Can I pick on you? All right. Why are you wearing what you're wearing right now?
The weather.
Okay. Why are you wearing low socks, running shoes, and shorts just like everybody else in here?
The culture supports that. I guess I don't want to look that's weird.
Perfect. You do it. Right? We don't think about it, but in almost everything, when we enter into an environment, the culture of that environment becomes social conformity, and in order to feel better about it, we engage in whatever's happening in that environment because our brains reward us for becoming a part of it. Culture, the patterns of behavior encouraged or tolerated by people and or processes over time. So, you can be unintentional about culture and team building, and it will happen either way. In most of the organizations that I go in, there is one person that is detrimental to the culture. That one person is the largest producing salesperson in the organization. They are typically driving the most revenue, and you tell me, why is the CEO not dealing with it?
Because he produces.
He produces. He produces. I'll let you make the connection to your soccer team, but here's what's going to happen. When you tolerate a pattern of behavior, it will become the culture, and what you'll have is you'll have part of your team that are encouraged to operate one way, and you'll have another part of your team that is following the behavior of that top producer, goal scorer, oops, I went there, somebody that's really important to your team. And because of the importance to the results and the performance of your team, there's a little bit of a hesitancy to want to deal with it. And what I want to say is that will become the culture. Because what happens is social conformity is real, and they'll just follow people. What you'll have is have the beginnings of what's called division, two visions. And pretty quickly within a culture of a team or anything else, you'll have people separate and follow one another. So when we think about culture, belief drives behavior. Do you know who this is? It's Roger Bannister. It's got a little bit of an Eric Liddell look to him. English runner from Great Britain. Roger Bannister, what did Roger Bannister do? Yep. I think I made a couple people in the room really happy. He was the first sub 4-minute mile. It was 1956, I believe, 54, 56. No one had ever run a sub 4-minute mile before. Doctors said it was impossible. They said your lungs would explode. You couldn't possibly pump enough blood to your body. They literally said you can't breathe going that fast. He believed something different. He set the new record. That's not even the most impressive part of the story. 4 more people ran a sub 4-minute mile in the next 12 months. It had never been done before. What changed? Belief. People believe, they behave. People believe it's possible, they behave. When we think about team building, I want to just reduce this down. Part of team building is culture. You've had plenty of conversations around culture. I wasn't going to do that again. What I did want you to understand is what tolerance does within a culture, because social conformity is real. The second thing I really want you to take away is that belief drives behavior, and so what are the beliefs within the organization? And for a team, there are a lot of unspoken beliefs. When you see certain behaviors on the field or at practice or coming to practice, they are rooted in a belief. So as a coach, getting to the bottom of that belief system will help you dissect what's really happening within the team. Effective team building. I wanted to give you some research that was done by Google in 2012. This is called Project Aristotle. Only an organization like Google can spend $2.5 million, carve out a small little team and say, hey, go figure out what makes teams effective for like the next 3 months. But that's what they did. These researchers came back and they said, we have no conclusive evidence of what makes a team effective. Everything we thought it was is not true. It has nothing to do with where you went to school. It has nothing to do with how you were brought up. It has nothing to do with parenting. There's no conclusive evidence. Across the country, at Yale, there was a study going on, and they stumbled upon this concept called social norms. Social norms are the unwritten, unspoken rules of engagement. Like, hey, I don't really know what to wear to this Coaches on Mission thing. What should I wear? Well, typically you'll call somebody, or you'll go to the website, or you'll look at pictures to see, hey, what do people wear at these things? Are you laughing for a reason?
Yes, I asked her.
You asked her. Okay, perfect. This is perfect. Thank you. So you guys, you bit right in. Thank you. All right. So the most important thing to have on the front page of a church website, a picture of somebody who actually goes there. Because the number one question people are asking before they go to church, what should I wear? People don't want to be left out. And so Google took this research that was on this term called social norms. They went back to all the data they collected, and they uncovered 5 main social norms that make teams effective. Here they are. I'm going to go from number 5 down to number 1. Guys, this isn't rocket science. None of you are going to go, wow, that's incredible. Dependability. Wow, this is amazing. Dependable people? This is crazy. I had no idea. But yes, dependability, number 5. Here's number 4, structure and clarity. Here's where I'd like to just pause for a second. Every player on your team, knowing where they fit, what's asked of them, what their role is, and what the accountability is. Even if it's hard. Everyone understanding the role that they play, because when people have clarity on the role that they play, they can feel confident, they can feel like they have some level of autonomy and competence, even if it is number 24. It's just the clarity that matters. Number 3, meaning. This is personal meaning, that the work or the team has personal meaning to me. Here's number 2, impact. That as a team, here's the impact that we're trying to have. We're not just trying to win games. And so as a team, how can you define impact together? And here's the most important thing in effective teams. Psychological safety. Here's the definition of psychological safety. That every member of your team feels like they can ask a question, say what needs to be said, challenge a teammate, come to you and ask you the difficult questions without fear of retribution, of getting in trouble, of losing their position, of losing their role, of people getting angry and not passing them the ball anymore. But within a team structure, psychological safety is the most important thing to effective team building. And so as a coach, the idea of team building is, how do I create this environment of total psychological safety? Well, you have to be willing to have difficult conversations. You have to be willing to tell people the truth. You have to be willing to hold people accountable. You have to be willing to go after a culture and not tolerate people behaving outside of the culture that you want. The moment you do, the culture changes. So these are the 5 most important things to effective team building. So now all I want to do is have an example. And you're all going to participate. We're not going to leave this room. It is going to be mass chaos, just the way I like it. You and your team of about 5 people, and you get to pick. I would encourage you to pick the 5 people that you think can win. You can go anywhere in the room, but you have to send up one person from your 5 to come and grab a paper bag. These paper bags, for those in the back, they're just laid out across the floor. So you got your 5 people, you got to come grab a bag, and then you've got to find a place where you can see this screen, because the next slide is going to be your instruction. The actual build that we're going to do won't take more than about 5 minutes. We're still on track, and I will have you out of here by 5 in case you're worried.
Let's go.
All right? Get 5 people, send somebody up to get a paper bag.
Any bag?
Any bag. They're all the same. Stop what you're doing. Objective. Build a structure that utilizes 4 black, 10 blue, 10 orange, 10 green, and 10 yellow. The structure needs to be self-supporting. Straws must be connected by the connectors. First team to do it wins. Go. Everybody pause. All right, stay where you are. We got about 5 minutes to wrap this baby. Listen, I'd like to know from round 1, what was your strategy for building? You all lie. What was your, what was?
People, we gave each other roles.
You did.
I'm rubbish at this stuff, so I said, I'll hand you what you need, I'll work for you.
Okay, so you're going to be the hander guy.
Yeah.
Okay, what other roles did you play?
Did you in charge? By natural, she took the charge.
She was in charge. You were the hander guy, she was in charge.
Danny started to look at it aesthetically, the
Okay.
structure, architecturally.
All right. Okay, for the winning team in round 1, how did you guys divvy up roles?
Pure talent.
You just start going after it.
Yeah, speed.
Okay, and anyone else want to engage with me? How did you divide up roles? Well, somebody was like researching on their phone over there, looking up Google things. Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys.
The first exercise reveals that we were all overthinking it for about 30 seconds until Kelly's like, "Let's go, bro."
Yeah. So, by the way, in the first one, if you had just stuck every straw to a connector and just connected them in any way, shape, or form, you would have passed the test. All right. Here's number 2. Start with the chosen foundation. That chosen foundation is the culture of your team. This is the mission, vision, values. This is the structure that we're going to build on. And every year or every season, you've got a new group that you've got to build back onto that foundation. But what I did was I put a time limit to it, and all of a sudden there was a little bit more pressure. By the way, the first time I could have put a timer on it, you got done in less than 5 minutes. But just having a ticking time bomb in the background changed the pressure in the room. Then what I said was, build the tallest structure you can. I changed the rules, but I didn't give you any more supplies. But then in number 1, I said, utilize all of your resources. When you read that, what did you think it meant?
Only what you've got here.
Only what you've got. The stuff within your possession. What you didn't know is that before you walked in here, 30 minutes before, myself and my 2 boys hid extra supplies all over the outside of this room. They were in paper bags, and you would have had extra straws, extra connectors, extra pieces, and you could have utilized them as your resources. Now, to be fair, I had to tell 2 groups there were extra resources around the room. That's why they got up and moved. Now, this group figured out something with about 50 seconds left to go. What happened back here?
We tried to combine together the extra, but that worked well.
Yeah, when I put this slide up here, who was it up here that said, is this a competition? Was it you? Okay. The first thing we think through is, how do I create a competition out of this? And within our teams, even a team of 20 to 30 players, We can have these internal competitions, and yet we're all going after the same thing. All that says is utilize all of your resources. What could we have done? We could have built the most amazing straw structure in here together if we had just started with 4 on the bottom, with 4 blue uprights, but no one even thought about it until about 50 seconds left. Now, the connection here is within your team. We will have individuals on the team competing with one another for specific positions and roles. And before you know it, it becomes a competition and scarcity of resources. This is all I've got. All I've got is right here. And yet the reality is within our teams, we have a whole lot more utilization that we could be optimizing if we took all the talents and all the resources of every single player. Some of those resources look differently than others, but if we utilize all of them, we could build something incredible. But instead, what we often have is scarcity mindset, competition amongst the team members, and we lack the ability to actually build a team. I simply just wanted to give you a visual of it, a picture, and I want to finish with just a couple of thoughts. These Legos are 3-in-1. They cost $10 on Amazon. If you took your team and divided it into 5, and they have to be the 3-in-1 because it solves a communication problem, you give every group a little box of Legos, and you tell them to send a captain up, and then you tell them, build the race car. Now, you don't point to it. You just say, build the race car, and you give them the box. What do you think is going to happen? You don't answer any of them?
They're going to try and build the race car.
Maybe. Most of them will tear this box open, and 2 of the 5 groups of your team will build the wrong thing. Because they will pull the instructions out, they will begin building immediately, and they won't even notice that there are 3 different sets of instructions. It's a great team building exercise for your team. You can get a whole lot of other conversations going around communication, team. You can go after this. How do we build this together? You can do a lot with Legos. The other one that I love, and I'm just going to skip ahead to this one. Line everybody up in 2 lines. So like get half the team in one line, half the team in the other line. Take the 2 people at the beginning of the line out into the hallway and do some stupid nonverbal gestures. So I was speaking in Nashville for a Thompson cat dealer, like the Caterpillar equipment, and the people at the end of the line came back in and they were getting into a forklift. That was the action. So they step up, sit down, pull the harness over, start it, and that was the action, okay? They go back into a room, there's 135 people. 3 lines across the room, and by the time it got to the 3rd person, it was so screwed up. By the time it got to about the 14th person, there was a guy dancing in the room. It wasn't even close. And so from a team building perspective, you can do all kinds of crazy things, even on the field, to get at communication. Like, I start a message here. I gave you a message at halftime. We had a clear strategy. What happened? By the time it got to the 3rd person, it went from getting into a forklift to a dance at a wedding or something. And so it can be used incredibly. So here's the rewind. When you think about team building, your roles as coaches is really important. When you're building a culture, you've got to remember that it's the patterns of behavior that are encouraged or tolerated by people and processes over time. And that becomes the culture within the organization, oftentimes what you tolerate. But now, how do I build a culture and a clear strategy? Because it's strategy to the power of culture equals outcomes. And how do I build a team that doesn't look at it like scarcity and competition, but looks at it like, man, we could use all the resources to build something incredible so that every person on your team has clarity on their role, their responsibility, and their accountability. Guys, it's time for Charlotte FC.